Hello everyone, it's Julie. Welcome back to my channel, Jules Suds and Soaps. Today we're going to be making, I made one off camera earlier, and I'm going to kind of show you the top. Okay, so we're going to do this today, and what we're going to do is we're going to pour, I'm going to mix up some melt and pour with mica. I'm going to get my pink level, and then after that, I'm going to want to pour a little bit of the clear melt and pour into here, and then I'm going to adhere these to it, and I'm going to pour melt and pour clear back onto the top. Okay, well, I'm going to melt these guys, and we'll be right back. We are back. What I did was I went ahead and melted, or not melted, excuse me, added some micas to rubbing alcohol. You can either use it, you can either add micas to dilute them to alcohol or to water, or you could just plainly just put it right inside your melt and pour, and that'll work too. You just got to mix it up real good. Okay, we are at we're at about 155 right now, so we have time to pour. Okay, so I'm mixing this up. The micas and the melt and pour. And what I'm going to go ahead and do, because this is going to have to set up while I'm getting everything else ready, I'm going to start pouring in my mold. I love these molds, these bar molds, just in general. And this one we had gotten from Michael's. I just love working with the micas, and a few things about melt and pour that I'm learning is well, the first thing here, that you need to spray alcohol to get these bubbles out. That's the first thing. I did spray my liner, my mold, with rubbing alcohol, and that just helps it kind of pop out easier, the bottom at least. It just helps. It helps with adhering, and it helps give it a little bit of a gloss at the end when you unmold it. Okay, so now I'm going to take these, which were, again, the edges from my other soap. So, for example, this here was an edge today, because I just like the edges the way they are. So this was actually here on the end. And I simply cut it, and then I use them for like another soap. So right here I have these melt and pour clumps. Now what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to wait for this to set for a little bit. I want this to harden up. And then at that point I'm going to melt down some more of the clear, and then we'll put more clear on top of it. Okay guys, so I'm going to allow this to set up. We are at, okay, we're about 122. We have time. But I wanted to just thank you guys for tuning into my channel. I'm new at soap making. I'm new at YouTube. In fact, prior to these videos, I didn't even know how to like crop a photo, you know, that kind of thing. So it's been a definite journey, and I'm loving every minute of it, and I'm doing something I enjoy, and hopefully in return I'm teaching you something. Okay, now what else can we talk about? Now the important thing is going to be to make these two stick together, because they're going to be different, is to make sure you spray alcohol. I always do it right when it comes out, and I do it right before I'm going to place these on and pour. So again, we're wanting to see, if we put this in right now, it's going to sink. It's going to just go right down to the bottom. And I actually want this to be, or top, and once you turn it, this is the top layer down there. But anyway, if I do it right now, they're just going to sink because they're heavy. So what I'm going to do is wait until I develop a skin on them. And one way you can tell is if you blow on it. This looks like it's getting a nice skin on it. Oop. And there is a skin, and my finger did not penetrate. So I'm going to try right now. And just line these inside here. I think that might have been too soon. So I'm going to take it out, and that's okay. I want it to set a little bit longer to be thicker. So I'm really loving going on this journey, and I'm learning so much. And the most important thing is creativity. You know, you can be creative. And like, for example, this soap, you can use any kind of colors you want, you know, that are more specific to you. I don't know. I'm just really, really, really enjoying this. And there's just so much that I'm learning. And as I learn, I'll pass it along to you. But like I said, we're on this journey together. And I really do appreciate you guys tuning in for this. And what is the other thing? Let's talk about melt and pour and melting it down. Now, when you're dealing with cold processed soap, for example, where you make it yourself, it's not melt and pour. You don't put it in a microwave. You actually use lye, which can be very dangerous and caustic to the skin. I've heard of people going blind from it. It's something that I'm not ready to. I'm a beginner soap maker. I don't want to dive into those hazardous, chemicals right now. So anyway, basically, I'm loving this. This has just been so fun. But like I said, with melt and pour, it's different. With melt and pour, it's definitely easier because you are melting it down, and if it starts to harden up and become too cool, you can always put it back in. Now, it's because basically they're giving you soap. You just melt it, like this, for example. This is how it comes in one big, log. And so you want to cut this into cubes, like sizes, about an inch cube size is probably the best. So you don't want to overheat this either. The soap, you do not want to overheat it. Having a heat gun is really good. And while I can't really tell you what temperature your melt and pour brand melts at the best or is the most workable, I do know for this particular brand, which I did get, it's simply let me check the name. It's simply, let's see. Okay. It's Simply Serenity. And we got this from, put the camera up a little bit. We got this from Michael's as well. So, okay, guys. I am going to test right here, and we're going to see. Okay, I still want it a little harder. It does have a skin. When I press on it, it does, make an indentation, and it just pops right back. So I'm going to wait a little bit longer on that. I just don't, it would be defeating the purpose. I don't want these sinking. And then this being the thing you see in the very beginning. Okay, back to the melt and pour and the temperatures. Basically, I don't like to, sometimes it just is inevitable, but how I melt my melt and pour is I put it in the microwave and I use the medium set power level. And then I press start for 30 seconds at a time. So there's going to be 30-second bursts. Now, if you have very minimal wax, like just a little bit you're doing for a quick project, it's going to be less than that. But maybe 15 seconds, you want to check it and stir at that point. But that's real important. Okay. Maybe not that one. See, in some spots, it's softer than others. So I'm going to wait a little bit longer on that. If you do burn your soap, your melt and pour in the microwave, it can discolor it. It can make it seize and become very thick. Very, very thick. And difficult to pour when it's that thick. And it can also turn the smell. It can have the smell. It can really bring a funky smell. And that's not good either. So try and maintain it at 160 or below, depending on your project and depending on your brand of melt and pour that you do use. So I think these might... Hello, I'm back. I think what I'm going to do is I want these to adhere. And they're not going to adhere as well if there's nothing really to adhere to underneath it that's warmer. So what I'm going to do is just put some melt and pour, a little layer of it right now. Let me check my temperature. And this way, the actual, I call them embeds, these embeds will adhere. Okay, let me see. Okay. I'm just going to pour very little. Let me check one more time. Okay. I don't want it to break through at all. So I'm going to use a spatula. And what this does is this protects the impact. So it protects, so in other words, if I didn't use this and I even poured it at a higher angle, it would just go through. I mean, I'm confident enough that it's hard enough anyway, but this just kind of absorbs the impact. So I just want very little, because again, I just want this to be a glue right now for these. Okay, so again, you kind of want the prettiest part of it on the outside. Okay, you're wet from the alcohol. It's kind of like a puzzle. You just, you know, pick the pieces. Go together here. It looks like I might need a smaller one. Being a little temperamental now. Okay, we're just gonna do that. Let me check my... Okay. We're at 160 and we have a film, so for this particular thing, I'm going to pour for this one. I'm confident enough that this will not be melted, these pieces. I'm going to go ahead and fill it all the way to the top. And now, let me put my other pieces down. This is really fun. It truly is. There's no right or wrong design with soap making. And it can be a little frustrating in the beginning, but stick with it because it's really worth it. And the only part that I mean about the frustrating part is if you want to do swirls and stuff like I like to do. It's a little more difficult to achieve swirls with melt and pour than it is cold process soap. But it can be done. Okay, so let me check this temperature. Okay, 140 and we're at a film. I mean, it's thickening up here. So I'm going to go ahead and pour it. Only making 2 today. I'm going to spray it with alcohol to get the bubbles out and to help it adhere. Let me melt a little bit more melt and pour. Be right back, guys. Okay, we are back to pour some more of this melt and pour. I just hadn't... Boy, this is really thick. But that's okay because it's just gonna... It'll still look the same. I don't like that this clump went on here. That's okay, I can take that off when the mold is done. I'm not going to worry about that. But, let me see. Let me remelt it. Because I'm not able to see the designs that I want on this. Now, I'm not using fragrance, and I have not been using fragrance, and the reason being is because I'm practicing. So I don't really want to waste all that fragrance oil and all of that when I'm doing that. Okay, so we're going to pop this back in. And again, I have to use the setting on my microwave for medium, because I found that it was just really causing it to seize and thicken too quickly, and it would burn it. The temperatures would be up to 170, 180, sometimes 200. So that's why I love having my digital thermometer as well. This is really the best thing. It's something I advise using, especially when you're learning. This has kind of become my, it's kind of important because I know when to pour. It's too hot. Okay, now this is at 160 now. I don't want to go any more than that. It's going down. Okay. This particular thing seems to be thickening up quick, so I'm just pouring right now. Okay. And again, I'm going to use the alcohol to get all the bubbles out. Because as you can see, the bubbles even, you couldn't see the bottom design with the bubbles in there. I know that was because it was 2 layers here, but we'll see. Okay, guys, what I'm going to do is let these sit, and I'm going to put them in the fridge in a little bit once they become harder, so I could transport them to the fridge. I will put them in the fridge. These will probably take an hour, if that. So I will be back then. Thanks, and I'll be back. I'm back for the unmolding. It didn't even need an hour. I would say maybe a half hour at the most. Okay. I love these silicone. I'm just pretty even at the bottom. I love these silicone molds here. They just pop out really, really easy. Like nothing. I'm going to save these for when I do something else, but I just wanted to show you how to make them. So before I actually trim them, this is the sides. That's the top and the bottom. This is the other one. Okay, let me trim the sides. And again, save these. Save these for your next project. And that's how I got all these. Really pretty. Okay, so here's the top. I did off camera put on glitter. I forgot to do that, but I did do that before I let it set. And because we use the alcohol, this layer and this layer are together. If you don't use the alcohol, chances are, depending most of the time, they're gonna separate. This one, the one that I made off camera, this one almost reminded me of like billowy clouds almost. I may name it something with the name cloud in it. I have to think about that still. Okay, I'm going to cut it and then I'm going to show you all 4 sides. Guys, if you could please subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. It really, really would. I'm just starting out. And, you know, I want to go far with this. Okay, so here is the other one. Here's the top. Interesting design. And here's the bottom and the top. Okay, thank you so much for joining, and I hope you have a great evening, and we'll see you on the next video.